There are two aspects to this story. Well, actually, there's quite a few other ones, but two that stick out very prominently. I would have thought it would be insane to still be talking about Bungie in 2025, mostly because I remember them going chips all in on the whole Destiny IP, okay? They had this big decade-long plan, and they were going to be releasing multiple titles, and it was going to be big business for Activision. And then they broke away from Activision and then ended up finding a new home at Sony and then producing exactly what they wrapped up Destiny 2, and what exactly is the future of that franchise moving forward? I don't know. What else have they done with their time? Work on Marathon, and that brings us to our second point. I never would have thought in my wildest dreams, besides talking about, potentially Sony's, lost leaders for 2024, that we would be talking about Concord. Yes, that very game right there, a year removed from its utter failure, and seeing another game follow in its tracks to a T. This is absolutely insane, man. And this is so pathetic, right? Because Bungie, they're responsible for thousands of hours of gaming bliss for myself and for millions of people around the world too, okay? Potentially billions, because at one point in time when Bungie was really cooking, like Halo and Master Chief were two of the biggest things in all of gaming. And Master Chief rivaled Mario as the face of gaming, unironically, during the heydays of Halo 2 and Halo 3. Now, they would go on and severely fumble that bag after getting out of the Halo business post-Reach, which was still a fantastic game. And it's funny, right? Because in so much as Bungie has become just a zombie studio, Halo Studios, 343, or whatever the hell they're doing with it right now, what's brighter, the future of Halo Studios with, we're going to be going back to basics, because what made Halo special? Pushing the limits of graphical achievements. Jesus Christ, you miss the mark that bad, and you're supposed to be developing the cutting edge FPS that everybody wants and desires? Okay, fantastic stuff. Or just Bungie with Marathon, because, oh my God, just the skin suit of Bungie puppeting and parading around their first IP, like before Halo, before Destiny, before everything, there was Marathon, and they're bringing it back like this. Bro, it's, but yeah, we're apparently going to be able to get our hands on the game later this month. Okay, as part of Bungie's reveal showcase for its next game, Marathon, the studio announced a closed alpha test and confirmed how players can sign up for access. Marathon closed alpha starts later this month, and players can join the Marathon Discord channel. I could think of very few other Discord channels I would much less sign up for than Marathon. But because of YouTube's beautiful terms of service, I can't even make jokes about those alleged Discords. But looking at, the offsite activities with certain Discord mods, I think you can probably put two and two together. But anyways, for a chance to get in, Bungie said its teams will be actively engaging in the Discord channels, including conducting live Q&As and generally discussing the project directly with the fans. Well, I'd like to know if we're going to be hearing from, any of the creatives behind Marathon, because here we have the lead developers, Jessica Irwin and Laura Warner, both she/hers. This game is cooked, isn't it? And even GameSpot is coming to the conclusion. Bungie's Marathon. I was going to call it Marathon, but we'll be able to call it just Dead in the Water here in a couple months' time, as a polished extraction shooter, but that might not be enough. Well, yeah, okay, because Bungie has completely and totally underperformed since Sony acquired the studio, and this is what they're going to do. This is what they're showing off. Marathon feels like it'll deliver satisfying gameplay, but the experience around it could leave a lot to be desired. I'm sure you also had similar takes, okay? Because we could take a look at this. I don't need any sound or anything like this, okay? Mostly because I don't care what Timur Hussein has to say about any of this crap. But this is what they've been working on for over a decade. Something that looks that goddamn generic, okay? I don't need you on my screen, but yeah, bro, this doesn't look. It really looks like shitty, okay, like the worst aspects of latter day Halo, okay. actually looks really indistinguishable from a bunch of other early Destiny. That's 1,000% what we're seeing right there. Even in its alpha stage, what made playing Marathon so compelling wasn't immediately evident. Oh, it was fun. I just can't tell you why it was fun though. And yeah, well, I can tell you what's not going to be a part of the alpha. I'm not going to tell you we're going to tell you what's not going to be a part of Marathon, because Marathon won't have proximity chat because it would be way too toxic. This is what they're prioritizing. This is what these cretins think is a good idea. That's what the people who remember the glory days of Bungie, that's what they want. They just don't want a toxic environment. Letting women into gaming was the single biggest mistake ever made. Now, okay, Jade Raymond, when she was at Ubisoft, oh boy, back when Ubisoft used to be profitable, Jade Raymond could write one hell of a script. I think that she was involved with Assassin's Creed 2, okay, but she was very, very good at her job, and she eventually got pushed out. Big shock on that one. And I bring her up at a bunch as well, because Amy Hennig, when she was the lead writer over at Naughty Dog, she brought you the trilogy of Uncharted games. She's a fantastic writer. So that's not to say that merit-based achievements and getting a job based on your abilities doesn't exclude women from gaming. But if you're prioritizing a safe space for gamers, if you're prioritizing having pronouns in your bio, I don't think you have best of intention for gaming at heart. You're just out there to try to tell your own goddamn story, wearing the skin suit of a beloved company and a beloved franchise that came long before you waddled your fat ass into those studios' front doors. Purging simps and feminists from gaming, I swear to God, man, if we see prices for games go all the way through the roof, okay, like if Nintendo gets their way, the $90 standard, GTA comes along and it sets the $100 benchmark. If we start to get that stuff and we see just, the AA and the AAA gap broaden, where we see franchises and studios consolidate and go bankrupt left, right, and center, you're going to see so many talentless hacks chucked out the door. But yes, proximity chat is a modern tool for our modern times, but it has a downside. As long as someone's standing close enough, you're at the mercy of whatever they have to say. Yeah, and here's the thing, man. Like, I played thousands of hours of Halo 2 and Halo 3 and Halo Reach online, and I was normally somebody who wouldn't play with a microphone, like especially if I was solo queuing, okay? Otherwise, I'd be in party chat with my friends. But yeah, if I just wanted to play a few games, if I had an hour or so to just drop, I would just, hop in. I wouldn't have a mic, and you know what? I would just mute people if I didn't want to interact, if I didn't want to hear the fun things that they were saying, or what, abhorrent things they wanted to do to my mother. I would just go ahead and mute the chat, okay? I didn't want an entire feature removed just to make me feel better. And same thing, everybody always brings up the Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 2 lobbies, okay, for how colorful they would get. I would always mute them because, yeah, I didn't want to hear somebody's shitty Linkin Park blaring through their cheap microphone, okay? I didn't want to hear their sound effects or their dog barking in the background. I would just have non-friend or non-party audio muted. That's the way that it would work, because I didn't like it, but I also wasn't advocating that no, everybody needs to just have all of their mics muted all the time because they might say something unsavory. No, this is what they're prioritizing, and you've seen some of that gameplay. They aren't prioritizing anything that's going to be fun. But okay, looking at the characters right there, and this is where the comparisons start to be driven home. Because as we see right here, okay, just simply going, you got Marathon, and what's the other game in a similar space that is also achieving, or is achieving the heights that Marathon is obviously going after? You got Marvel Rivals, okay, and you've got some quote-unquote female characters from Marathon up top right there, okay, and it's, well, there's a style that they're going for, not exactly inspired, but it's definitely an aesthetic. And then you got female characters on Marvel Rivals. You got Psylocke and Emma Frost, which is causing, meltdowns over there on the Bible thumping side of the internet. But the game is still doing, phenomenally well. But yeah, and the difference is catastrophic. And who are the other people working on this? You got Prince, Zexu, the same guy from Twitter, Gay AF, weightlifter, producer on Marathon, Pitbull Dad, Pokemon Master, BLM, trans rights. This is... Man, we really are going through a time loop on this one. I didn't think that we would be talking about Concord outside of the confines of 2024, and I didn't think anybody would still have all of this cringe shit in their fucking bio. This is like a throwback to 2018 and 2020, and you'll wonder why this game is going to die. Bungie is hoping Marathon is exciting enough that people would be willing to pay for it, because yeah, outside of just the abhorrent art style, there's another awful aspect that Bungie is drawing on in comparison to Concord. Ever since Bungie held its big gameplay reveal of Marathon, listen, I don't know when this happened, okay? Over the weekend, I did not hear anything about this. Now, to be fair, I was mostly off the internet, but I didn't hear anybody outside of just, the cringe reaction of going, holy shit, they're doing the Concord. Like, nobody hyping this up positively. Much of the conversation about the game has been, well, about not the game. First, Bungie addressed the pricing strategy behind Marathon, calling it a premium title, also saying it won't be full priced at $70. Okay. Then the studio outlined why the game, a PvP extraction shooter, won't have proximity chat, despite the prominence in other games in its genre. Beyond that, Bungie also discussed who exactly Marathon is being made for. In other words, it's been a lot. And now the team is back discussing why Marathon won't be a free-to-play shooter. Yep, Bungie's a multi-platform game will not be free-to-play, no campaign, no single-player, but will be cheaper than $70. Concord retailed last year for $40. Concord also had a couple of rounds of betas and pre-testing as well, and it did phenomenally poorly, legendarily so. And as is highlighted by this collage right here, what has succeeded in the subsequent time that Concord has released? Well, Monster Hunter Wilds selling 10 million copies in as little as a month. Stellar Blade sold so well that the devs got, like $250,000 in a PS5 Pro or something like that? Well, because I guess somebody needs to get them, okay? Marvel Rivals Google searches increases over 3,000%. Is that just for the Invisible Woman? No, I'm sure that had something to do with the reveal of Fantastic Four First Steps, right? Yeah, sure. And then a bunch of other games that don't really ring any bells. I'm sure First Descendant is one of those. The 264,000 players at launch. Maybe it's that one. Yeah, but the demo. Oh, right. That was that Mech Break game. Yeah, demo with 317,000 all-time peak players on Steam. And the rest of the stuff, it's I don't know, maybe some gacha games and stuff like that. But yeah, you compare that with the art design of your modern audience games, a major stock market drop. Yeah, for Star Wars Outlaws, for spanking. Yeah, it caused the dev studio to shut down, and for Square Enix to abandon the Western market. Intergalactic, The Heretic, Don't Make Me Laugh. Oh, Unknown 9, more layoffs, and I think the studio ended up getting closed. A 1,400 peak player count for, holy shit, a game that I'm blanking on. South of Midnight right there. Yeah, backed by Microsoft. Compulsion Games, first-party Xbox studio. And yeah, the crown jewel of them all. Well, actually, the top two right there. You got Dragon Age The Failguard, 100 employees, and BioWare, a legendary studio, gutted, and Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. Warner Brothers game comes out and say, yeah, we had to take a $200 million bath on that vanity project. But yes, Concord, the biggest gaming failure of all time. Full stop. Even running down that entire list. And the one that I didn't mention, I have no idea what that is. But Concord, yeah, confirmed to be the biggest disaster of all time. And you know what Bungie says? Yeah, just let me copy your homework here real quick. It's going to be a mess. The alpha footage is disgusting. I'd imagine the alpha tests are going to be pathetic. But if we've seen what Bungie has been good at in the past couple of years, it's sticking their head in the sand, continuing to move forward. But we've also seen what Sony has been good at here in the past year or so. When a game flops, they're going to shut down a studio that they put a lot of money in. Oh boy, we're seeing history repeat itself because there's no ingenuity. There is no innovation in the gaming space. It has been a disastrous beginning to 2025. There's got to be some good news on the horizon, right? Because this shit is getting awfully depressing. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.